Lately, I have found myself getting kind of frustrated with all of the discourse surrounding aliens and UFOs these days. You see, for decades, the general thought, the general consensus was that aliens and UFOs were some type of intelligent beings that came from a different planet, a different galaxy, a different star system, somewhere in outer space. That's the general thought that everyone had when it came to aliens. Now, the main argument that would be used against the existence of aliens was basically religion. Religious arguments. Oh, God created humans. God didn't create this. God didn't create that. Therefore, aliens couldn't exist. That was the main argument against aliens for all of these years. The other argument was, well, we don't know if these planets would sustain life. What about water? Well, we're finding water and stuff everywhere out there in the universe these days. But religion was the main argument used against the existence of aliens. And if you've done your research about aliens, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm the number one expert in the world, because I'm not. Not even close. But if you even look throughout history, there were signs that maybe alien life did exist. I mean, when you think of like the Dogon tribe and how they were supposedly in contact with this alien civilization from the Sirius star system. As you can look throughout history, some of these ancient tribes would be able to map out star systems that they shouldn't have even known existed. Without the technology that we have and certain things that we have these days, these ancient tribes should not have had a lot of the knowledge that they did about space, about the planets, about the location of certain stars and certain star systems. Yet they had this knowledge years and years and years ago, years before, the earth was even a civilized place. These people had knowledge that a lot of us don't even have today. And there were shared experiences across different civilizations, different groups of people who did not have contact with each other at all. Some existing hundreds, if not thousands of years before the other. So, looking throughout history, you will find these signs. You will find signs of alien life and of past groups of people who have acknowledged that aliens were here, or these creatures were here from this star system or this star system or what have you. But now, as we get to this point where the discussion about aliens is not as a crazy, it's not this conspiracy type of discussion anymore. Now people are taking this conversation, they're taking this topic more seriously. But now, instead of using religion to basically throw out all of the evidence of aliens, instead of using religion as an argument against aliens, now it's just turned into, oh, aliens are angels and demons. Aliens have been a part of religion the whole time. You all had it wrong. These aren't creatures from outer space. These aren't creatures from another planet. This all has to do with religion. Now, isn't that funny? Because they used to say, oh, because of our religious beliefs, aliens aren't real. Look at what this says. Oh, we're going to abide by this. Well, aliens aren't real. And now we're kind of getting to the point where you can't deny that there's something going on. There's something out there. Now they're trying to, form a religious explanation as to why these things exist. And I find that frustrating. I'm not here to say that, oh, maybe there isn't a religious aspect to it. Maybe aliens are angels and demons. I always tell people, I'm open-minded to all of the possibilities. But you're not going to so quickly pull the wool over my eyes, because I'm not going to sit here and allow the same people who told me I was crazy for believing in aliens because of their religious beliefs, I'm not going to allow them to turn the conversation about aliens and UFOs to a religious conversation. Because that's where we've gotten. Sure, they're talking about aliens and UFOs in Congress. Sure, they're talking about it on the news. But now we've gone from the point, oh, these are creatures or, intelligent beings from another planet. Now, oh, this must just be human technology. This is just technology we don't know of. Either that or it's angels and demons. And I just have an issue there. Because I feel like in many ways, religion has been used to control people. Religion has been used to keep people in a certain box. And I'm not here to speak out against religious people or whatever you believe. There's no problem with what you believe. I was raised in the Christian church. There's no issues there. But I do feel like religion is sometimes used as a way to box people in so they don't think outside the box. And I have a problem with now that this conversation has reached a new level. Now the conversation surrounding aliens is taken seriously. So instead of using religion to kind of dismiss the fact that aliens may exist, now they're using religion to say, oh, aliens, or, it's just all religious stuff. It's all tied to the religious stuff. And I don't know about that. I'm very skeptical about that. I'm very skeptical how we had this 180 turn to, oh, because of my religion, it means aliens don't exist, to now, yeah, aliens exist, but they're just demons and angels, and it has everything to do with my religion. It seems as if they just try to create a religious explanation to explain aliens instead of kind of maybe accepting the fact that there are other intelligent beings out there, and maybe the fact that they do exist challenges some of your religious beliefs. But people don't want their religious beliefs challenged. Instead, they will create alternate explanations that will incorporate their religion. Now, could they be correct? Could they be right? Yes, maybe. But I find it suspicious that this wasn't the conversation. This wasn't the narrative 10, 15, 20 years ago. It's a narrative that has been created recently. Recently, as they disclose more information about UFOs, more information about aliens, now they're opening the conversation to this spiritual aspect of things. And I think they're doing that in a way to maybe not cause as much panic. I don't know. I can't quite put my finger on it, but there's something disingenuous about it, in my opinion. And I say that as someone who fully believes there could be a possibility that all of this stuff is tied to some spiritual religious stuff. But I just cannot sit here and go along with the fact that the narrative has shifted so drastically in such a short amount of time. But with all that being said, this week was the anniversary of the Roswell incident. And if it wasn't for the Roswell crash, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Because in many ways, the Roswell crash is what sparked the conversations about aliens and UFOs. Now, don't get me wrong. Like I said, if you go back throughout history, there's been documentation of stuff like this for a very long time. But the modern day conversations surrounding aliens and UFOs, the reason why we're looking back on history and reading through some of these texts and deciphering some of what people were talking about, it's all because of Roswell. And with that being said, I want to go ahead and roll this clip, and then I'll be right back with more thoughts.
Roswell is literally and metaphorically the ground zero of the modern UFO mystery. Tell me why, and what information or reporting specifically is most compelling to you out of this site?
Well, this is the place, of course, that people say in 1947 something crashed. And I think there's a misconception that it was somehow the media or the public that broke this story. That's not true. It was the US military themselves who said, we have recovered a flying disc. Now, they changed their story within 24 hours and said it was just a weather balloon. But the fact that we're still talking about this 80 years nearly after the event shows the enduring power of this mystery.
What specifically do you think warrants more investigation when it comes to Roswell?
Well, I think the fact that in these days of forensic analysis and DNA and things like that, we can do this sort of scientific investigation. This was not just people saying they saw lights in the sky. Some people said that something crashed. So you can get boots on the ground, you can forensicate the landing site, hopefully recover debris. There is science still to be done in Roswell.
I understand. I also want to get your take on the recent research paper on cryptoterrestrials, questioning if aliens are already walking among us. So this is a 42-page paper by 3 researchers, 2 of whom are from Harvard University, urging the scientific community to seriously consider the hypotheses that aliens may already be present on Earth, specifically the possibilities that UFOs could be concealed here. Aliens, they say, could be living underground, even that they're not aliens at all, they say, but time travelers. Now, they are not putting forward this as fact. They're just saying these are theories we need to seriously and rigorously consider. Specifically, the idea that entry and exit points as well are clustered often around volcanoes or lakes. What is your take on this?
Well, as you say, this is more of a thought experiment than a we've found something. But I think the fact that scientists and academics are having this conversation is so refreshing. A few years ago, this would have been inconceivable. Now it's out in the open. And as you said at the beginning of the piece, this is total vindication for people who for years were languishing in the fringe, thinking this was all conspiracy theory. Now we're having hearings in Congress. And now, as we see with this paper, scientists and academics are daring to ask this what if question.
Yeah, and I want to ask you, because the last time we had you on the show, a bunch of viewers had this question for you. I mean, you were long the man who investigated UFOs, another phenomenon, for the British government. In all of your time doing that, and all the evidence that you've seen, what was most compelling to you? What scientifically did you feel, wow, there really is something here that I cannot explain?
It's the sightings from military pilots where we simultaneously have radar data, forward-looking infrared camera films of these taken from the jets, and sometimes satellite data as well. Although, of course, a lot of that is still classified. So there's more still to be released, and I hope it will be forthcoming over the next few months.
Yeah, how do you balance that? Do you think that we have a right, that the public has a right to all of this information, or would it send all of us into a panic if we truly knew everything that you know and others know?
It might. There's always a balancing act, as you say. On the one side, there is the panic question and the point that we don't want to say anything that would give adversaries an advantage. But at the end of the day, I think the people do have a right to know. This is the greatest mystery of our time, and it's about time we got this out in the open.
Guys, they're literally nonchalantly talking about time travelers and aliens living underground. They're nonchalantly talking about this on the news, on national television. What a crazy time to be alive. But unfortunately, a lot of people don't even realize how crazy this is because they're too dumbed and dulled down. They're too busy flipping through 15-second TikTok videos, watching people do the same dance over and over again. People are more concerned about celebrity news, celebrity gossip. And I say that as someone who covers celebrity gossip, and I can tell you that people rather hear about that stuff than this stuff, even though this stuff is what I think is way more entertaining, way more informing, and way more important. But I'm glad he touched on that one thing in that clip about how there's a common misconception where when you think of UFO sightings, when you think of alien sightings, you think of like a crazy person who saw something weird one night. You think of random individuals seeing something unexplained. But the reality is, I think there are more UFO sightings by the U.S. military than just regular civilians. Like you said, the Roswell incident, that was originally reported by the U.S. military. Now, of course, they played damage control and they tried to sweep everything under the rug and they tried to get it, ahead of the story, but it was a little too late. Some of the story already got out there. But that was something that started with the U.S. military. And if you do your research, you look into things, there have been so many situations where the U.S. military has encountered these aircraft, these beings whatever you want to call them. There are reports of literal dogfights with these ships, literal airplanes getting shot down, fighter jets getting shot down. I know it sounds crazy, but all of this stuff is documented. And it's out there. The knowledge for people is out there if you want to seek and find it. Unfortunately, people are more obsessed with seeking and finding knowledge about stuff that doesn't really matter. But it is what it is. I'm glad that we are in a time where this has become a topic that's more openly discussed. But I'm very skeptical about a lot of the twists and turns that we've seen lately, because it feels like there's a motive to kind of hijack the conversation and turn it into a conversation all about religion and stuff. And I'm not so sure if I'm down for that, because it just seems like it's all happening at a really opportune time. And it feels like maybe it's part of the psyop. But then again, who knows what to believe about any of this stuff. Anything is possible. You let me know what you think. You've heard enough of what I had to say. I want to hear what you have to say down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe, ring that notification bell. If you would like to donate, you can donate via Cash App or Super Thanks. And I'll talk to you all soon in the next video.